TGIF, everybody. Welcome to Iron Will Media's Flat Earth Friday FringeCast. Man, it's another Friday, and I am thrilled to be here with you guys. We've got Adam, Walt, Zach, John, and myself, and I don't even know how to describe today's show, so let's just jump right into it. It's going to be a barn burner for sure. TGIF, everybody. Welcome to Iron Will Media's Flat Earth Friday FringeCast.
It's Friday, my dudes.
Thank God it's Friday.
And welcome, everybody, to the show. My name is Josh Corey. It is the 27th day of July, 2018. Thank Gandalf it's flat. TGIF. Just want to say a quick hello to everybody in chat. Everybody listening live, hello, and welcome. I want to give a quick shout out to my partner in crime over there on Truth Frequency Radio for the Ironworks every Tuesday and Friday morning at 10 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 2 a.m. Central. Nope, 4 a.m. Central, 2 a.m. Pacific. I'm going to get this right one of these days. Mr. Walter Johnson, how you doing this afternoon?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Josh. It was an interesting week, a very awesome morning, and I feel like it's going to be an interesting Friday afternoon as well. How's everyone else?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be quite the interesting afternoon. We are also joined by one Mr. Zachary Zabala, or if you prefer, Good Times for All here on YouTube. Zach, how you doing this afternoon?
I am wonderful, Josh. Hope everybody else is having a good day. I'm living my new nomad life, and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
That's what I like to hear. Big round of applause for Zach's new nomad life. F the man. We don't need your society.
That's right.
We're also joined by one Mr. John Savage. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Josh. Thanks very much. Good week here, all well, and looking forward to the show. It should be a good corker.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be one of those firsts for us. I don't think we've done a show like this in the 18 months, 2 years that we've been doing shows. This is going to be a first.
You know, I was looking into that number myself this morning as I was writing the description of our show, and as of July 17th, we are at a 2-year mark with our Have No Spear podcast launch.
Look at us go.
Yeah,
July 7th.
We didn't even have a party.
That's like 10 days ago, a week and a half ago. We were at 2 years last week, didn't even know it. That's what you call indicative of the Iron Realm. We're also joined by that Adam Eakin. That's right.
Forgot all about it.
Nope, it happens to the best of us. Sometime, no.
Oh, now look, you're going to have to watch me untangle this in front of my face. I'm not doing that.
That's all right. Well,
hopefully the echo's not too bad, but yeah, this week I am that Adam Meakin, aren't I?
You are that Adam Meakin. I'll try to talk quieter so I don't hear myself.
That's better. I'm nearly there. Oh, shit, it's still not right. Oh, it's like a comedy sketch.
OCD in
Gravity
action.
is causing that.
Josh,
Are you set?
I think you're good to go.
All right. Excellent. And we also want to welcome that Adam Meakin to the show. Welcome, Adam. How has your week been?
Feeling a little metaphysical here. Something's happening. Odd, isn't it? An odd week. I always remember about a year ago having my getting sniped virginity broken on Nathan's channel, and I remember telling Riley about it. You know, it was it's more fond in my memory, to be honest, now than my real breaking of virginity, which was, but I've kind of had another one this evening. Certainly for me anyway, the first time in my flat Earth experience that my motives have been accused of anything more than genuine, honest. So, yeah, funny old week.
Very funny, odd week. Well said. So I guess we can sort of dip our toes into it a little bit. We're gonna get kind of serious after the break. But just to start off, we promoted this week's show as having guests. And we don't necessarily have guests per se, sort of, but not really. The plan was to have a couple of guys from the channel, Peter and Pete. We'll call one Peter and one Pete. Obviously, that's not their name. Mother didn't name them both Pete. But they are the ones, I think, that have started trying to mainstream this idea of water being an element in and of itself, right? It's not comprised of hydrogen and oxygen. Water is, period, full stop. Water is. Water's water. It is not H2O. And I thought, well, that would be a really interesting show. There's been a couple other channels out there that have, I guess, sort of been picking up and running with this. But I thought having Peter and Pete on to discuss this here on Iron Realm Media would be an awesome conversation between Adam, and Walt has a big background here too. John and I are relatively laymen, but I think we are reasonably intelligent men that can sort of help work our way through this and be able to wrap our brain around it one way or the other. So I thought it would be an awesome show to get him on here and discuss this. What we did get was a link to a paper, a publication put out by the Department of Energy. Just for no particular reason. I used to have an uncle who has since passed within the last couple of years, who basically worked his entire life and retired from the Department of Energy out there in Los Alamos. Interestingly enough, I'm sure there's something there with the security clearance involved, but I digress. And what they said was, in regards to our claim that water is not made up of hydrogen and oxygen, take this paper, read it, do this experiment yourself, and it'll prove the Department of Energy, the United States Department of Energy, wrong. Once you do this experiment and see what we're seeing, you'll prove it wrong. So we took the paper, we've got the paper, and I think we're going to have Adam jump right in, and we just wanted to start this experiment as suggested by Peter and Pete, and doing a little electrolysis experiment. Am I right? Have I not mucked it too much yet, Adam?
That's on screen. Yeah, that was the kind of request, I'll describe it as, given to us on Wednesday night. So, you know me, that's what I thought I'd do. And in the discussions on Wednesday night, I did, make it clear I was going on holiday, but look, I had a bit of time yesterday. I didn't need this paper to set it up. I kind of set it up, and I think we're going to have a little play with the experiment in a bit. But I thought it'd be interesting to at least have a look at the paper that we're referring us to as the significant thing for what appears to be their summations on the experiments they've done. So this is it. It's the U.S. Department of Energy, Energy Education and Workforce Development. So it kind of looks, it's US, guys, but it kind of looks to me as a corporate sponsored educational system. So I've got no issue with a level of cynicism in this thing. But as we see here, Josh, you'll probably have to put this into perspective. It's for grades 5 to 8. I'm not sure what age children that is.
Well, that certainly does put things into perspective. That definitely builds a lot of context for us and our listeners, just as a heads up.
So what age is that? Because I genuinely don't know. I mean,
what's that, like 10 to 14? Is
I'd
that
say
about
around 9 or 10 would be 5th grade, I guess.
your kid's just grown up and you've forgotten, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's mine problem. Mine's 23 almost. So, but yeah,
maybe
I
have a
would say
little
about
look in
10
chat.
or so.
Um,
Yeah,
but
stuff I
obviously-
would have been doing in my mom's kitchen for sure.
Obviously, the next thing I read on the page, as I read now, and this is always important when we're talking about context, is topic. And the topic is hydrogen and fuel cells, solar. That's the topic. And the owner, as you can see, is what appears to be a corporate entity. So I don't know what age it is, but I'm assuming it's young kids. It's like you say, 10, 11, 12. And it's kind of the grade that you'd introduce children to this kind of stuff. And I think as we go into the thing, there is, and I will admit, mention of the production of oxygen, and that's for a reason. And that's because we don't want children having to consider this. Okay, and that kind of makes sense to me, that it would be unreasonable for children to have to kind of consider these kind of but this is really quite complicated past A-level standard, so college standard. This is A grade college standard kind of describing this reaction. So I think it would be unreasonable to expect 5 to 8 graders to understand this. So it makes, with that in mind, it kind of made perfect sense when I went into this. And as I said, there is some much more basic description of the chemical reaction. So I'll go down into it because it's, and apologies to Quantum Eraser and Nathan here, it's not a scientific paper as the way it's fully set out, but that said, for the audience, it's good. And what it is actually is teachers' notes. So it's a way of a teacher setting up a practical demonstration to give children an insight into the wonders of chemistry. So this is page 1, teacher page 1. High energy hydrogen. So electrolysis of water, and we'll start with the keywords: compound, electrolysis, hydrogen molecule, and oxygen. So oxygen's in there, hydrogen's in there. That's good. Student objective: the student, and this is the whole purpose of the experiment. So I'll read these two things. The student will be able to explain how hydrogen can be extracted from water. We'll be able to explain how energy flows through the electrolysis system. So that's the purpose of the experiment, gents. Are you clear on that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, it does talk in a very simplified way, and I showed I'll put that link in chat, the electrolysis of sodium chloride, and that is at different pHs as well, which is important in all reactions like this, how you can manipulate a reaction, favour a particular route. But as I say, here, obviously, for these kids, they're kind of keeping it really basic and simple. And excuse me, I think one of the points that was being made to us is that you can't produce oxygen gas. And I think in this, as described paper, it is probably intimated that you could be making oxygen gas. However, if you do read it, at no point do they attempt to measure or test the oxygen gas. It's about hydrogen, this. And that, with it being about hydrogen, that's a really good experiment to do, because if you do the electrolysis of saline solution, as Pete and Peter stated, the resultant products, well, it's threefold. I mean, they're talking about one, or being chlorine gas and no oxygen. But actually, the resultant compounds of the electrolysis of a saline solution are chlorine gas, as described, hydrogen gas, and also sodium hydroxide. And I think at that point, there's probably not much point going into this bit a bit more, but what we're going to do is that experiment tonight. And before I start it, I'll just start with a couple of assumptions. So once I start cooking up, we can just kind of show you stuff. So if we were to take basic tap water or saline water, it's going to have a pH of around about 7, give or take a little bit. And what I've got tonight is, just bear with me, let me put the screen back. And we had is what's called litmus paper. A lot of people will probably be familiar with it. This is red litmus paper, and for the purpose of the electrolysis of sodium chloride, you only really need red, which is good because that's all I've got. So now, as I said, normal water, saline water, is around about 7. So if you dip this stuff in it, it'll get a bit wet, and when it dries out, it'll still be pink, and it'll stay pink. But as the reaction goes on, as I said, one of the resultant products is sodium hydroxide, and that isn't neutral. It's what's called an alkaline, and has basic properties. And what alkaline bases do to red litmus paper is they'll turn them blue. So that's one indication that we can have from tonight, that there's certainly been a change in the pH, the acidity or alkalinity of the solution. And in chemistry, a good indicator of that would be that a new compound has been formed that's created that change. As we mentioned, that the other thing is chlorine gas, and I'm going to do a little bit of a bodge tonight, and I'll come on to that in a minute, but we're not going to bother collecting the chlorine gas, because I can't really demonstrate it. I could go, oh, that smells of chlorine, but that's about all. So, and like I said, it's a bit of a shortcut because I'm going on holiday, so I've not had a chance to get the graphite rods that's necessary to really allow the formation of the chlorine gas. What I'm using is a bit of galvanized garden wire as my electrodes, which what tends to happen is the steel, the iron in here will actually react with the chloride ions first. And this is, to show you that's actually one of the electrodes I was testing with yesterday. It burnt away. So, and like I said, I can't show the chlorine anyway, so I'm not going to bother with that. But the third product is hydrogen gas, and we can hopefully, if I turn the lights off once I've collected it, is demonstrate that we've collected that. And I think the hydrogen gas is for me, guys, and if you're joining after I've made this point, because I need a drink, the collecting of the hydrogen gas would be the, as you would call it, the debunking of what's being asserted by these gentlemen. What they've said is that, you only get out what you put in. The water is inert, it doesn't do anything. Now, in this reaction, we've got water, pure water, and we're adding sodium and chlorine, sodium chloride, salt. Oh, I've got another disclaimer before I get to that. Right. It's not my fault. My wife's middle class. I'm not. Right. But like, I went to get salt. To say it's a bit rushed. This. So turns out we've only got posh sea salt. So there probably will be other compounds in there. For reality purposes, what you will see and the discoloration that will occur is first you'll see a little slight greening of the solution as the sodium hydroxide forms, but as the chloride reacts with the iron in the as it dissolves it basically, you'll see it start to go a kind of a reddy sandy colour, which is just the iron.
Adam,
so I'll be bringing out the iron tonight, guys.
Harry Growler in chat is asking what color flame you're expecting. So
Harry Growler.
So how do we know it's going to be hydrogen and not a sodium-based gas? Is his question. If we're collecting it, how do we know what we're collecting is hydrogen?
Well, the first point, I suppose, if you bear with me, I'll just transition again.
Can I just point out, Adam, that we only started discussing this on Wednesday, wasn't it? It's now Friday, so you've literally had a day to recover from the shock of what Wednesday turned out to be, and you're meant to be going on holiday in a couple of days, so the fact that you've only got sea salt and a couple of bits and bobs, and I mean you're still doing it, aren't you? I mean, but when you get back, it's going to get a bit Neanderthal on it, aren't you?
Well, if it was necessary to help people explain what's going off, then, and that's the only purpose I'm doing this, guys. Like, I've got no super axe to grind. I'm not doing this for Pete and Peter. Yeah, there's people out there making claims, whether that's Pac-Man, this, that, and the other, or whether it's whatever sorts of claims, and this is being portrayed as a flat Earth issue, from what I can tell by Pete and Peter. And I'm not saying I'm right.
Personal problems. That's what we all have, man. Come on.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm right. What I am saying is this is my understanding, and when I tried to talk to these gents, they weren't interested in explaining what was going off, and that's kind of why I just want to explain to everybody else, this is my understanding. You can make of it what you want.
Yeah, and try it yourself as well.
And try it yourself. Now, I will address just that it's not a sodium gas, and there is. I'll just go to the screen. If you look, could you see my mouse? What's going to happen is, like the hydrogen, sodium is also a positively charged ion, so it will head off towards the cathode. Now, if it did collect some electrons, okay, which would require a significant amount more energy than the other 0-volt reaction for formation of hydrogen, and you'll see why this thing just fizzes like wano. The formation of hydrogen gas is the most prominent thing in this whole reaction. But if for whatever reason sodium did form, I'll show you what will happen. Drop sodium in water.
While you're doing that, I'll just correct you. You said during the discussion on Wednesday. As far as I'm concerned, we didn't actually get past the introductions, let alone onto a discussion.
Well,
no.
Discussions were discussed.
Yeah, but no details or anything. I mean, I was asking pretty simple questions and not really getting any answers, but we'll come on to that in the second half, I should imagine.
Well, there you go. Look, so if you drop sodium into stuff, it just reacts straight away. Okay, you can see, look, it's just instantly reacting with just the water. So that's sodium. If you were able to elicit this reaction, which is a much higher energy required, this is going to be much more favourable. If you'd have to run out of hydrogen for this to start to happen. But if you did, because you always do get some random reactions, and that be more applicable at this end. But if you did, you'd get sodium formed, and the next thing that would happen is that it would instantly react with the water to form sodium hydroxide and more hydrogen gas. So, you wouldn't get sodium's a metal. You don't get a natrium-based gas. It would have to form with something, and the only other thing it's forming with is the other part of this H2O molecule to form sodium hydroxide, which is the point we'll demonstrate when we show the pH change in the water when
Adam,
we start the reaction.
Is sodium hydroxide flammable, explosive?
No, it's what you use to make soap, John.
Right.
It's what you react with fats to make soap. So
lye or whatever.
This is kind of like one of the basic principles of Roman cleanliness, isn't it? This is like when I was a kid. That's what you learn. You do this, and you make your sodium hydroxide by electrolyzing salt water, and then you take that and you take a bit of lard, and you react the sodium hydroxide you've made with the lard, and you make a little mini bar of soap.
Okay. So if you had a test tube of sodium hydroxide and put a flame to it, what would it do?
Nothing, because sodium hydroxide is only really existing there. It'd do nothing. I don't think. If it'd be a crystalline powder,
okay,
unless it's in solution, because it's a salt.
Okay.
So yeah, Harry Growler is saying, so you're using salt, not a sodium metal. What is salt, Adam, chemically?
Sodium and chlorine.
Right.
Like I said, so the disclaimer I gave is that in sea salt, what you also get is some potassium chloride. Okay, so it's still the chlorine there, but potassium. Now, potassium it's in the same group. It still carries favours a +1 charge. For only ever has a plus charge, a +1 charge. Like sodium, because it's in group 1, but it's slightly lower down and it's like more reactive. Which way did they go? Oh, but anyway, so it's of the same family or FEmily, to use a proper phrase.
Thank you.
Yeah, shout out to Iri there. I can't use family anymore. Familus, so it is FEmily now with an E. So yeah, I mean, there will be slight other salts, and there'll be other little compounds in there that will elicit other things, but realistically, they're only going to create an issue at the anode. You're still only going to get hydrogen produced at the cathode. As you can see, look, there's 0 volts required. As soon as these two hydrogens are produced, they'll bond together and with the current flowing and instantly produce it as soon as those electrons are available. This requires more force to elicit the reaction. And I don't want to get into too much detail really on that, but hopefully that explains why you're not going to get a sodium gas. And this also, okay, I'll quickly cover it because whilst we're in this page, this is also this electrical energy requirement is also the reason that you don't get the oxygen gas formed in this reaction, because we're putting the sodium and chloride in. If you see that once these things are in solution, the chloride ions, the requirement for these to bond and form is much lower energy requirement than, ignore this bit because it's H2O2. Look, it's the first and most important thing is you have to take 2 water molecules and cleave them to liberate the hydrogen ions that you're going to use over here. No, sorry, I'd actually ignore them going over there because that will complicate them. That's within the loop. There are some in solution anyway. Yeah, but you have to cleave this molecule first at high energy before you can liberate the oxygen at a lower energy reaction. Go on, Zach. Sorry.
I just wanted you to explain how you explained it the other day, how this is just your model, or this morning. And you even explained that to them, that this was your way of understanding it. You're not saying that there are electrons and atoms and this and that, but in this model, it all works.
Yeah, I think in science, it works, okay. And I think probably, say, have you seen an electron? Well, no, I haven't. Of course I haven't. Don't be silly. Yeah, that's a straw man argument. What we have here is predictability and repeatability. Now, the only way I can answer in terms of electron is, well, do I actually believe that the hydrogen molecule looks like a little H and the oxygen looks like a little O? No, it's a way of calculating and using this to work stuff out. I mean, this is very basic, but when you get into more complex stuff, this is only nomenclature, really. It's just a way of handling and dealing with it and explaining it, like I say, at a more basic level. Because, like I said, this isn't degree level, what we're seeing here. This is A level, sort of GCSE level, realistically. I suppose Mr. GCSE and A level physics would probably be able to define where it sits in the curriculum now. Probably a lot higher up than it did in my day.
So I did that. Down. I did that physics paper that Riley did the other day. Anyone else done that?
Not a chance.
Yeah.
I got the same as Riley, actually, but we got different questions right and wrong. But it was quite interesting. I mean, I don't want to take it too much off track, but maybe we'll come back to that later.
We definitely should. So, Adam, can we address the flame color? Just so Harry Growler in chat can stop with this sodium.
You know why I said I didn't prep, right? I haven't gone and looked. And you know when we was doing it the other night, when we was doing the little test just to show you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So maybe Harry can tell me. Well, you tell me what colour you see, Harry. We'll see. I'm not trying to prove some unbounded. I'm just trying to. I think we're missing the point.
We're experimenting.
Well, again, everybody seems to be seeing us as adversarial and confrontational, and I don't understand. Just because we question the claim that water is not H2O, we're going to question that claim. It's good that you're questioning what water is. Excellent. Into it. But we need to question the claim. So we're questioning the claim, and now we're being essed on. We're being shit on because we're questioning the claim. We're questioning the question. And say, well, you're not willing to question everything. Well, we are. You just don't like the fact that we're questioning what you're saying too.
Just like we question no trees on flat Earth, just like we question the dome, just like we question infinite planes,
John
just
Brahma.
like we question this disk in space, just like we question the edge with John Brahma, just like we've questioned everything. That's what the hell we're here for. It's what we've done. And if PD and PD had taken a moment to maybe go listen to the correct show and not get derailed on their personal vendetta against Truth Frequency Radio, whatever the hell that's about, then maybe they would have been able to be here today and we could all be looking at this experiment together instead of this ridiculous drama that we're all enmeshed in now. Sorry, I'm getting pissed again.
All right, well, I did come up with a cunning plan there. Now, when I'm going to collect the gas, I'm going to use little. Well, I didn't have a chance to get test tubes, did I? Give me a second to change this.
Again, Harry Growler in chat saying, so you're proving a hydrogen gas, but don't know how to identify it. WTF?
Oh, well, I can type it in a second in Google. Why don't you, Harry? Just tell me what colour it is. Don't be silly, daft lad. I told you I'm rushing. I haven't done this for years. I haven't been burning hydrogen gas for years. You know what I mean? It was just a little thing.
We will
collect together, mate.
We will ignite the gases to try to determine what the gases are or are not. This isn't a super in-depth experiment, right?
Yeah.
Adam's getting ready to go on vacation, go on holiday. So he's going to be on throughout the whole rest of the month. So when he gets back, we'll be able to do it a little bit more properly, under a little bit of better conditions with better equipment, and get this done probably the way it should be. But just as a throwaway, as a challenge
Well, the thing is, we're not looking it up. You know, you could Google it and find out what they tell you, but we're going one step further. We're actually going to do it, and you tell us what colour the gas is.
Well, John, I'm just going to qualify how kind of cobbled and rushed this experiment is together. So
thank you, because I was about to do that for you, Adam.
Yeah, I tried to earlier, but
well,
clarify.
There you go, John. So today I was trying to find things because I haven't even got test tubes. I haven't done this kind of crap for years, you know, and I haven't even got test tubes. So I was looking around the shop to see what I could find, and these are the two solutions I came up with tonight. The first one was a bit big because it's a cup for supervised methadone, and I didn't think that was appropriate, so I've got rid of that. And then the other one was a urine sample bottle, which I think is an absolute cracker. I've peeled the label off on that one, so hopefully we can see the colour of the gas and it pops. I've tried my bloody best here.
Dude, it was the shot glass was the ace.
That was last night's
shot. I know, shot glass chemistry.
Shot glass.
Band name, called it. Oh my God.
That's better than select plugs.
Look, it's covered in iron. It's covered in iron, baby. The shot
Right?
glass.
And it's covered in iron. That's the first song on the new album from Shot Glass Chemistry. Covered in iron.
old smart arse in the chat there. Look, I've tried my best, right, mate? And actually yesterday I was thinking I tried to find out dead posh proper graphite pencils. Nailed the frickers down. Took me enough. I got pencil shavings all over, so I've got two nice graphites. But because I need to collect the glass, you kind of need curved. It needs to be curved. So that's why I've had to make it out of garden wire in this cobbled together, excuse my bad science.
The
But
lengths
hopefully,
you go to,
if
mate.
you're intelligent enough to understand the reactions that are going off, you can see that it can't be a sodium-based gas. As I lift it up, as I lift this up, it'll be full of water, and we'll collect the gas, and it'll fill up. Okay, and I'll lift it up, right? And I don't need to rush, right? Because it's hydrogen gas, because it'll stay up there because it's lighter than air, so it won't fall out the bottom. If it was sodium, yeah, whoosh, it'd fall out the bottom, wouldn't it? If it was sodium-based gas.
Is that density
Which is
or gravity?
exactly when you do some of the other electrolysis of water experiments, look them up on YouTube. You'll see, right? When they collect the gases, they do it in two ways. They collect the hydrogen like that up, and then the oxygen you pour down into the test tube to collect it. It's kind of their relative density and buoyancy, funnily enough, in the air. There you go.
Funny that, eh?
Pete and Peter. Sorry.
So
No, I don't need. Honestly, I've only ever tried to be genuine, and to have that strange response, and more importantly, that strange video afterwards is.
We'll get into that later.
Sorry.
That craziness, that chaos, that insanity that ensued is for after the break. We've got some really cool stuff. So we're gonna get that fired up and get this experiment started. I don't want to keep old Harry Growler in having to watch us for any longer than we have to. But this does bring us to old Buzz Lightheaded. And Uncle Buzz, this video that I've seen going around.
Yes, unfortunately,
I will say
making
that
the rounds.
It is a very impactful piece of audio. Just by itself, I think, when you factor in the idea that these words were being uttered by this 80-some-odd-year-old oatmeal-brained alcoholic who was either too drunk to do an interview or too sober to do the interview, but shouldn't have been speaking in public at all. It was just complete gibberish that came out of his mouth. And the fact that he managed to string together a few coherent words, I don't think we should really focus too much of a spotlight on those particular words just because that broken watch happened to be right at that particular time. I don't think that's what he was talking about. I don't think that's what he meant to say. I think the fact that anything even remotely coherent came out was a fucking miracle. And it's just disappointing that people are putting so much behind this confession from Buzz the Lightheaded. It was just too much nonsense for that particular few words to be any sort of revelation for the masses.
Especially when you watch the whole segment, the 19-minute long whole piece. You see the gibberish. The man is just, as you say, incoherent is not even close. It's rambling. It's sad. It really is.
Hold on, Adam, what are you doing?
I've had to mute so I can hear you, so I ain't got my headphones on, so I have to talk quietly like Josh. So far, I put in 35.8 something grams this time, John, into that, I don't know, about a litre of water. Like I said, for these purposes, accuracy is, as you tried to wind me up with last night, Savage, not important. So
I don't even remember, mate. Don't worry about it.
And I'm full. Let me take that out. That was for me collecting glass. So I'm just stirring that in until it dissolves. Carry on. I'll mute till it's a bit further on.
Cool. I on the other hand think Buzz did know what he was saying, or at least sort of got out what he was trying to say, and I think he's still on target with his alien invasion agenda. That I think is lining his back pocket at the moment and has been for several years. With Mars, I saw something yesterday about a huge lake of water being found under the surface of the fictional solid Mars planet.
Really? For the first time? Again?
Yeah, again, yeah. But yeah, that's where I think Buzz is going with that. Is that we need to know why we didn't go back to the moon. We need a reason, so that if we do something in the future, we need to know why. And I think he's going to come out with the popular myth that we were warned off going back to the moon by aliens.
They've been pushing it hard. Oh, have they pushed it hard.
Like that Bush's baked beans commercial.
You'll have to explain that one.
True.
A, I'm in the UK, and B, I don't watch TV.
Well, I've seen it, especially from a lot of flat earthers just going around YouTube a lot. It was a commercial for a can of baked beans, and it was two astronauts on the moon. One plants a flag, and this big monster comes up out of the ground and eats the guy, bites him in half or whatever. So the guy's hiding around by the corner behind the rock, hiding from the monster, and he farts real loud because he just had the baked beans. So now he knows the monster knows where he is because you heard him fart. It's the beans that gave him away.
I did see that, actually, yeah. I didn't know it was a bean commercial. It was really quite good CGI, wasn't it? And quite well produced.
Just a quick, just so in case anybody was worried it's a little souvenir I got when I went to Barcelona. It's one of those little laser printers. But I was using it the other night to hold that shot glass so it didn't keep tipping. Just to show you, just the wires and the electrodes on there, so it holds it in the water. And then behind me, there's the power supply that'll be driving it. Right.
Awesome.
Sorry, carry on.
What voltage are you putting through it?
Don't know. See what it cranks up at. We just want a bit of gas, don't we? So we'll see what it starts up at. I don't know where the dials are.
Don't want to melt your cathode again, though.
Look, the purpose of this is we collect some hydrogen. So whatever we start melting at the other end, it doesn't matter. We're going to collect the hydrogen.
Well, we're going to
Do
collect
a little pop.
We're going to collect something off of the end of there, and we're going to light it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that. I'm not saying it's hydrogen.
We saw that little shot glass, and it like I said, I had to have that thing to balance it to try and collect. So I don't know even how much was in there, because it was quite late, weren't it, when we got that one out? Because we only had those tiny little things I was collecting in, and they were beep. So I'm getting prepared to shit it when this one goes off if we fill it with hydrogen. So It could all go well, or I could just be a complete shill, couldn't I? So we'll see.
You're taking the piss, Adam.
Apparently I am, sir. Apparently I am. Right, give me a bit.
Right, let's carry on about Buzz, I think. What was your synopsis?
I did not give mine. Who are you talking to, John?
Anyone.
Oh. I think Zach's the only one left that has not given his. But I don't think he's back yet. Did he not leave? I thought he did. Right. So
Chocolate Asian just said in chat, maybe the Johnny 5 they've got up there on Mars can go swimming now. I love it. That's probably how they keep that lens so dust free, is every now and again Johnny 5 drives over to the lake, gives it a little dip, shakes it off.
Laser lips. Your mother was a satellite.
Just a quick back. I'm going to do a quick litmus test. Bring it back. If I keep forgetting bits to do, remind me, guys. So I'll do quickly. So we've got the red litmus paper. We've got the water. We've put salt in it. Test it. Yeah. Can we see it? I'll leave it.
Oh, there it is. Oh my goodness.
There it is. So
it's a
I'll
lunar.
leave that there.
I see you, Walt.
Oh, the trouble is I've not cleaned it out very well. That's just not good. I need a new tank. That's dirty. That's going blue. That is dirty. I'll do it in here.
So let's see. There was something else that was going on. Infrared photography and videography. That's something else that's been blowing my mind this week that I thought was really cool. Crap, I guess I should probably pull something up then, shouldn't I?
Yeah, no, I agree. That was some eye-opening stuff. I haven't got the kit to test it, but it seems like a very good way of seeing this stuff. I'm getting a bloody echo in my head.
Yeah, I'm getting your echo too, John. For sure, there's interesting, this whole concept of doing these filters and lenses and a way to see through some of the Atmo plane. Yeah, genius. I talked to Dave Weiss about maybe trying to get some footage of the little bit of the eclipse that might be glanced this time of the day while it's happening. The reason we couldn't see it is it's daylight here right now. So even though the moon and blah, blah, blah. So he's going to see, but he said there was a lot of bad weather on the coast. So he may not be able to actually, it might be too socked in.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of it. 10 minutes before the show, that there was meant to be an eclipse today, and we couldn't see it in the UK for a change.
This is true. You guys usually do get a glimpse of it generally almost every time.
I'm struggling to remember seeing an eclipse ever. I have seen the sky go notably, like a cloudy sky, go notably dimmer, and that is literally the extent of an eclipse that I've seen, including solar eclipses too. I think I saw one when I was 9, but yeah, that's pushing my memory.
Sorry, guys. I've gone super anal.
I think I saw that movie.
You saw that dirty jug I had. So it's got so much sodium hydroxide coated in and crap around it. It's turning the litmus paper blue anyway. So I've gone and got a clean jug. So if you just stick me on again, I'll just validate. I can do it, can't I? What I'm doing again, I'm just going to take this out of the way, look. Let's go and raid the kitchen. So I've got an ice cream tub full of water now. I'll get rid of that dirty water. Yeah.
While Adam is playing around in the laboratory, another thing interesting that was presented to us this week is the fact that space has now moved 12 miles closer to the spinny space testicle. What was it you called it earlier? Anyway, yeah, apparently space is creeping in even closer every day. So
as long as you're not claustrophobic, that's cool. Because that infinite vacuum of a void, that's 12 whole miles closer. You never know, some gravitational anomaly like they experience on the ISS might just come and bounce us all right off into space. You never know.
I'm also looking for that animation of the newly discovered moons around Jupiter that are just mind-blowing. I'll send that over to you, Josh, so you can show it to everyone here in just a few minutes.
Hey, Adam, could you share my screen when you get just half a tick?
Oh, yeah, I'll just take that off. Stick it over there.
And look, I started digging around on my computer, and we've all gone dead and quiet. We do apologize. This is the Iron Realm Media, though, so par for the course.
I saw this from Jay Tuplin Media One channel. Airborne, he's flying over Las Vegas. It's only 7 minutes long. Maybe I'll play it. Hopefully he won't mind. I can't imagine. And if he does, then I guess that means that he'll get the money. All of our major YouTube dollars. All right, let's back this up so we can get the context of it. Let me talk through this semi-annoying music. There we go.
Thanks for watching. I tell you, you're in for a real treat. On my last business trip, I brought along a 4K Sony camcorder with an infrared filter to see how far I could see into the haze on the horizon. And what you're about to see is simply amazing. I've been researching this flat Earth phenomena that people keep talking about, and I stress the word phenomena. I'm not ready to say the Earth is flat or anything, but there is a phenomena out there. And in infrared, you can do interesting studies. Now, have a look at the merits of infrared. That's what I was seeing out the window. And notice in infrared, how it clarifies everything. Now, Las Vegas was somewhere out there in the haze. Couldn't see it with my eyes, but notice how I zoom in on Las Vegas. Just simply amazing. Have a look. Now, here I'm a little bit west of Havasu Lake. You can see it in the lower right. And I spotted the bright lights from Prim, Nevada solar power plant. I think it's called the Ivanhoe Solar Power Plant. And I'm fishing for it right now. It's to the left. I'm going to start panning to the left. There it is. I'm zooming in. Just look at this. This is incredible. There's the solar power plant. Anybody who's driven to Las Vegas from California has seen the bright solar towers out there. Thousands of meters focusing sunlight on those towers. Now, Las Vegas...
Yeah, I know that's good in the Earth's flat and all that, but I've started the stuff up, so give me a while and I should have some hydrogen cooked up.
Just incredible. So I'm using a Sony 4K camera with nice shot capability and a 950 nanometer filter. It's a long pass filter that blocks visible light and only lets It's infrared, and that pierces through the haze, as you can see. Just incredible. Now, have a look. I will be doing some analysis based on the stratosphere and what it is. Now I'm zooming out and notice how dark everything is, the sky and the water. That's because there's very little near-infrared illumination. Now, as I'm zooming in, notice that you can barely see the stratosphere as we're flying. It's moving. Let's see. Okay, I'm zooming in now even more. Okay, stratosphere is to the right of this highest peak. That's Black Mountain, and it's at about the same height. Right there, you can see it. Okay. Based on that, I can determine a lookup angle for the light rays. Light rays are leaving that stratosphere at a certain angle. I just realized that the other day I can calculate that angle. And you will be amazed at the calculations to follow shortly. But for right now, just have a look at this. I mean, those mountains in the distance, they're easily 200 miles away. Just incredible. The lake in the foreground is along the Colorado River. That's Lake Mojave. And, you know, this is just incredible. Just looking out all the way in the distance, you can see part of it, but there's obviously haze. Anyway, let's have a look at the analysis that I've done. Here you can see in the upper right, I'm calculating the lookup angle. You can see in the yellow inset, stratosphere 3,000 feet, Black Mountain 5,000. Simple trigonometry gives 1.4 degrees. The two are separated by about 60 miles. In the lower left, look down angle, based on my distance away from the stratosphere and the altitude we were flying at, also gives 1.54 degrees. Just incredible. Coincidence? Maybe. Now, here's the two choices we have. Flat Earth surface at the top or curved Earth surface. Notice how simple the flat Earth model is. You know, I'm getting a look down angle of 1.4 theta 2 and a lookup angle theta 1 of 1.4. Same thing. Curved Earth surface, well, we gotta assume light curves, and the problem is it curves more than atmospheric refraction at that angle, which is about 0.3. So it's not really correct. You know, kind of makes you wonder what's going on. That's why I like to say there is a flat Earth phenomena, right? Observations from the surface and, you know, aboard airplanes relatively close inside the atmosphere don't seem to, you know, properly detect the curvature of the Earth. It's really, really kind of strange. Makes you, you know, really brainstorm about what's
Or as
going
Nathan would
on.
say,
You know,
it is obviously and observably flat.
So much astronomy and everything we see.
Hard to deny, isn't it?
Observations.
I have no idea what this lookup angle is. This is something that's new to me. One of the main reasons I wanted to play this, because I was hoping maybe somebody could help me decipher some of this stuff at some point.
I imagine the lookup angle is the angle of, is it incidence or something? You know, what the angle compared to a flat plane that you need to look up to see the plane that he was in, and equally the angle from his flat plane at 33,000 feet or whatever down to the whatever it is on the surface. Autoplay.
And I'm just going to let it go. Because
Okay.
this was yesterday, apparently. This is new.
Listen, you're in for a real treat. I brought with me my infrared camera once again, and you'll see multiple clips. I'll even take the filter off and show you a comparison. You'll be amazed at how that infrared technology works. You can see through a lot of haze. It is unbelievable. I tell you, I'll be zooming in to the horizon, and it just left me speechless. I don't know what to think about this flat Earth, but I tell you, this infrared footage is starting to make a believer out of me. Just simply incredible. I won't be doing any analysis like in my previous clip. I'll leave that for another video. And so here, just enjoy these clips, these multiple sequences from different points of the flight. Just take it all in. It is incredible. I'll try to narrate as we go along. What you see here, we just took off, and there's this marine layer. We're over the water. Of course, it extends inland. And we just left Los Angeles on the way to Dallas. In a short while, we'll be in Baker, halfway to Las Vegas, just about. Now here we are, and Pahrump is to the right, there's a mountain range, that's Mount Charleston, this valley to the left. And I brought my phone with the GPS app, and we leveled off at about 32,000 feet. So on this map, I'm showing the flight path, and the black line is the distance measured out to a mountain range, way in the distance. You'll see it in the clip. It's about 200 miles. There's Mount Charleston clearly visible, and we'll even see Groom Lake, the location of the famous Area 51. Yeah. It's really incredible. We leveled up at about close to 33,000 feet this time. I am on a different flight now, from LA to Dallas. And it's a little bit hazy out there. Let's put on that infrared filter, see how it does. So this is my infrared filter. It's a 950 nanometer long pass infrared filter. Lots visible and lets infrared through basically. I'll be putting that on the front of the camera, and then I'll switch the camera to night shot. You'll be amazed, just watch. Wow, look at that. Isn't that incredible? This green tint is default, and I cannot change it in Photoshop or Adobe Premiere. I'll be changing it. So this looks much better. Desaturated the clip and adjusting contrast. And you'll see me adjusting contrast throughout the clips. It's like, wow. Just blew away through all that haze. That's just now in the foreground, this mountain is Mount Charleston. Behind it is the Nevada test site. Now you can see Groom Lake and Papoose Lake to the left. Just incredible. Look at that. The mountain range in the back, I identified on the map at about 200 miles out. Look at that. Just take it all in. This is incredible. Just incredible. The banding of the atmosphere. Something else, isn't it? Just look at it. Look how far we can see.
Can you pause it there, Josh? I just want to say this is what I love about Flat Earth. It's the fact that people out there are so compelled to research it that they put their money where their mouth is and get the equipment. I mean, some of the stuff FEcore's done and with their fiber optic gyros, and we're talking a lot of money, time, commitment, effort, and everything. And hats off to the Flat Earth community and the Flat Earth curious community, because you're putting your money where your mouth is.
I'm about half full. I'm ready to blow up my shed in about another 5 or so. Probably by the end of this.
Looking forward to it.
Looking out the window, lots of haze, and you'll see here in a little bit. I'll turn the camera to night shot mode, then I'll put the infrared filter on. See how it clarifies. Here we go. Look at that. And then I'll be adjusting the saturation and contrast. Much better. In the foreground, we see Lake Mead. Over there is to the left somewhere. You can really see it. I didn't zoom in on it. And you can see it right there. Yep, I can see it. We're zooming out to the horizon. Look at that. Wow. Here I just adjusted contrast again.
That's awesome.
That really is awesome. You know what I think when I see that? We need to use spherical trigonometry.
Feels like I'm flying through space for sure looking at that.
That is really impressive.
Pretty straight horizon there as well.
Yes, it is.
Even despite it being shot through an airplane window.
It was interesting what he said earlier about the lack of color and all that. I wonder if the fact that there's less gases to affect the fact, the layering and all that. It's just crazy. This footage is amazing.
Night shot capability, which is why I bought it. I'm very pleased with it. Just look at this imagery and infrared. Just incredible. Here you can faintly see some mountain ranges way in the distance. Adjusting contrast really helps here. Look at that. Can you see that? This imagery really doesn't compare with what NASA is showing in their infrared images. The surface just doesn't have the curvature they show. It's like, are they misrepresenting the curvature? I don't know. This footage really, really incredible. It's making me kind of rethink stuff. I don't want to say the Earth is flat, but man, it's flat as phenomena. There's a phenomena here that lets us see way in the distance. And we need to figure out why that is. That's the Grand Canyon. Yeah, look at that. There's the mountain range way out there. I just adjust the contrast and I'm zooming in more on that. Just look at that. Oh my goodness, just look at that. Wow. Just wow, you know. Wow.
He's a reluctant flat earther, isn't he?
He is.
Right, his paradigm is breaking down even as he's looking through the lens.
I just got to work out why it is. It's like, it's pretty bloody simple, mate. It's flat.
And I have a sneaking suspicion he's already on board. He's just
I
playing it
think
up
so.
for the cameras, so as to not get made fun of later.
Did Paul on the plane have an objection to this, or some sort of, I think he took the mirror down, or anyone
I did
get an
not know
update
that.
on that?
Not at all. What's up? What do you know?
I don't know. That's all I heard was, all I saw. I tweeted it out, and Paul came back saying, hold the horses. I'll be back in a bit. There's something I need to say about this, and I didn't hear anymore. So. Yeah,
well, I'm ready to pop, boys.
Okay.
Write down on your pad of paper, John, because next Friday, we will have Paul on the plane and Noxie here with us.
That's
Right,
what I was
cool.
asking for.
We will be able to address that very question.
Yeah, that'd be good. Go for it, Adam. What?
So, Adam, what color flame are you expecting?
God
What's that flame?
Turn it off for a minute. So I've got it in
Say
there.
goodbye to your eyebrows.
All right, let me start sharing. Make sure you're displayed so everybody can see you.
Let's give it a go. Shit a bus then, isn't it? See what happens. This is funny.
That was shit.
That was so much better than last night.
Yeah,
All that work and you go, that is shit.
It didn't pop.
Science, baby. That's
I was
science.
ready for.
I want to see your hair on fire, and even the little one.
At
The little one
least
popped.
one eyebrow gone, you know?
Well done, mate. I saw a yellow flame. If
Yeah, I
anyone
was going to say
cares.
it was yellowish orange, maybe.
I don't know. It seemed like I saw a few different hues in there.
Could have been the plastic at the end.
Can you charge it up again, Adam? Or
Is
come
it
on,
covered in iron?
Leave it for an hour or so, and we'll give it a go.
While you're there, look. While you're there, I've done a dip test earlier, but look, I'll take another one now, look. Think, and stick it in.
Hey, guy, get off the line.
It's blue. What can that mean?
Beautiful.
It's voodoo magic, man. Yeah, I'll get another one. I'll get another one cooking, but that's it then.
Awesome, mate. Brilliant work. Just worth reiterating that this is a on the hock shoestring experiment, so don't go picking it apart.
Bottles, for God's sakes.
Yeah, stop saying urine, mate. I think you've done an awesome job. I'd like to give it a go as well.
Give me 2 minutes. That's what well I.
So would it be a good time to chuck in? I know it's off schedule, but as you're talking about the infrared stuff and seeing things from a long distance, would it be worth chucking in the email I got from my ham radio expert?
Absolutely.
That was-
Brilliant segue.
Yes.
Okay, well, let me try and share my screen. Adam, you might need to do something. I don't know
Yeah,
what.
let me.
I'll share screen and go over to this.
Yeah, you got to go.
Josh, would you read that so I don't fuck it up?
As if I'd be less likely.
You can actually read though. This is far better than me. Can you see what I'm saying? But 88 megahertz transatlantic signals heard in Ireland. And I'll set this up because a few weeks ago we had a show with Rob Durham, and he was embarking on microwave transmissions and receivers across, I think it was about 100 plus miles, from the Netherlands to the UK to Dover. And during that show I sort of, not jokingly but ambitiously said, you know, it would be really cool if we could do that from the west coast of Ireland to, say, Newfoundland, which is roughly 2,000 miles. And I'm in touch with quite renowned and well-respected and hugely experienced ham radio, amateur radio holder in the UK. They don't call them hams in the UK, amateur radio enthusiasts or something, typically denigrating the fact that they are technically on the cutting edge of all of this stuff. You know, just call them amateurs or some sort of schoolboyish title. And he sent me this article. So I don't know if you want to read that, Josh. Cut off my monotone dullness.
It says 88 megahertz transatlantic signals heard in Ireland. On Sunday, the 8th of July, 2018, there was a remarkable opening in the VHF bands across the North Atlantic. While there were plenty of strong multi-hop sporadic E signals on the 28 megahertz and 50 megahertz band, the maxable usable?
I think that's usable. I could be wrong.
That's how I read it.
Yeah.
The usable frequency did reach as high as 88 megahertz at one stage. Paul Logan in Leneska, Fernaw, Northern Ireland. Sorry, that was just a little bit fast. There we go. Managed to catch the CBC Radio 1 on his 88.5 megahertz from Newfoundland, Canada at 22 to 35 local time. That's 21:35 UTC. It is very rare for openings on Band 2 across the Atlantic, and to date, only 2 people have managed to succeed in hearing North American radio stations.
Cheers, man. I won't play the video because it's just Canadian radio, basically. But I mean, interesting. That name of the Irish place. I thought that would be on the west coast of Ireland. When I looked it up, I was trying to get the distances between the two. It's actually right in the middle of Northern Ireland, and I hovered around there on Google Earth and couldn't find anywhere above 150 meters above sea level. So, I mean, the calculator goes in at. I put the eye height at a mile. Despite, well, this was prior to looking at the maps and seeing that there was actually nowhere in the area that was above 150 meters. So I gave him a generous mile height observation, and the target was 1910 miles. And as you can see, it's 2,105,362 feet, which is roughly about 400 miles of curvature. So how this can work? So I'm thinking, okay, so it's a UHF frequency, and I'm new to all of this, and this guy could literally took the ears off me, and I wouldn't understand a word he's saying. I mean, you know, multi-hop, sporadic E signals. I'm sure Bob Nadell knows what the hell he's talking about from Glowbusters, but I don't. But what I did see was the VHF band. So you know, going to the Wikipedia explanation of the VHF band came up with I was looking up line of sight propagation. So again, Josh, would you do me the favour of reading the first 1, 2, 3 paragraphs?
Oh, hold up, Josh. I'm ready to pop again, baby. I'm ready to pop.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
That's what I told her. Never mind.
So apparently, if it's sodium, it's going to be orange, and if it's hydrogen, it's going to be purple. According to Harry Growler in chat, I think was who posted the color scheme, according to Harry. How awesome would it be if we found out there was no H or O in water?
I wouldn't be surprised. But then I'm not
a
chemist.
This was the issue I had, is that we are all so open to this possibility, but we weren't even given the chance to express that.
Ooh, yellow as fuck.
Nice, yellow for
Smoking.
Sure. Smoking.
Fuck, I
There you
missed
go,
that.
Harry Growler. That was a yellow flame.
So what's yellow? What's yellow? What's yellow?
Sodium-based gas, he says. Sodium-based gases will burn yellow.
Okay.
Whereas opposed hydrogen, they would expect it to burn purple.
I've heard of purple.
Yeah, I've never heard of purple either. That was a new one. I was expecting blue, which is what Arwen guessed in chat, that it would burn blue.
Nice one, Adam.
And I do
There you
think
go, gents.
in there.
We like a little bit of test it. Hashtag test it.
So there we
Flash
go.
it back. Hashtag test it.
Am I still sharing screen? I'm not, am I?
Like I said, the only thing I can say in response to that, guys, is if it is some sodium-based gas, that's lovely. That's like saying it's fairies, unless you're going to postulate something of reason that makes sense what's going off. Like I said, in terms of a sodium-based gas, so I hold the jar, it was the way it was. And more importantly, what we do know is what we end up with is sodium hydroxide. We have no loss of sodium, and we can calculate this. We can calculate the amount of sodium chloride we put in. We can calculate the amount of chlorine gas that comes off. We can calculate how much and the concentration of the sodium hydroxide that we make. So the sodium is quantifiable, both from the beginning to the end, and is traceable. The chlorine we can take off is quantifiable. The hydrogen is quantifiable, as you've seen. You know, if you've got better equipment rather than urine tubes, you can do it a lot more accurate, you know.
I'll tell you what, Adam, though. No, I won't, because I've completely forgotten.
Tell me. That's the worst interruption I've ever heard.
I'm getting worse at these interruptions.
You didn't even finish your own interruption before you apologised.
Okay, what I was going to say, well, no, because I immediately realised I'd forgotten what I was going to say, but what I was going to say, or at least I'm winging it now, was that as a layman, I honestly don't have a horse in the race. I don't care if it, well, I mean I care, but I have no way of proving it myself, whether water is hydrogen or oxygen or whatever. But what you're doing is ultimately more useful than what I've seen from PP, and they just seem to be the worst salesmen for what they were trying to express. I mean, I was asking them simple questions. You
were
never
trying
even
to get
got
the
a
experiment explained.
I
Very
was,
simply. You
yeah.
wanted the steps. You wanted the required
It's not time for
things.
that.
It was ridiculous.
You guys are jumping the gun. We have one
yeah.
more good Walt rant.
Okay, I'm stopping.
Before we get into that subject, after some gravity, but before gravity, we wanted to get into what happened over there on Nathan Oakley 1980s channel yesterday.
Yeah, I do and all.
Ooh, okay.
Oh yeah, I think Adam's got something really important to say about what happened yesterday. Something major went down just before their big subject happened. You want to pick that up, Adam?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
What happened to you? What Nathan did to you?
Peter, Pete's, all that sort of stuff. Like, fine. But I tell you what, yeah, outrage. Look at my face.
That's the look of outrage.
Yeah, outrage. No, well funny.
Or gas, maybe gas.
So I was talking about virgin and kicking. So I got another kick last night from Nathan, and that my only opposition is you don't mind being kicked, but for such a scum bag. I'll hand it over to you, Johnson.
Yeah, well, give us a little bit of a setup as to what exactly happened. I guess let me give what I heard, because I heard the original show where they had Quantum Eraser on, and they were getting ready to round out the show, and in the chat was this guy named George. And as soon as Quantum Eraser, John, heard that this cat named George was in chat, he went off the deep end. Which, I mean, is saying something for John. So he completely laid down the gauntlet, challenged George to join the panel, get in there, and answer for what John thought to be some pretty serious accusations. Then Nathan ended the show. Wait 10 minutes. Show picks back up. Let's see. Adam's already been kicked. Walter has lasted through the break into the second show. And now, I think that's where you go then from Walter. And
the thing about this, I'm rarely able to attend the debates. I'm usually playing catch up on what Adam's letting us know about, or I'm in the behind the scenes chat playing catch up with the hundreds and hundreds of messages there, and that's usually where I'm at. So luckily the timing was perfect. Adam dropped a reminder that it was on, and I said, sure, let me hop in. So I was not expecting what happened in any way. I was expecting flat earth discussion. And not knowing the history, I was completely surprised by John's reaction. He, like you said, he pulled at the choke chain, dude. He was like, ugh. So what is going on here? During the break, I found out that apparently at some point this guy was bragging either in a live chat or in somebody's hangout about he was the one who got Brian Mullen pulled from YouTube, or to quit YouTube, or his channel is gone now. And you all know Brian Mullen and his amazing work with Balls Out Physics. So I was immediately incensed. I loved Brian's work. I loved his presentation. He brought some things to it that it was way over my head, and helped bring it down to a level I could understand. And as you said, Josh, helped some people in engineering that, get into the topic in a way that they might not have normally. So the fact that this guy might have had a hand in his stuff disappearing really pissed me off right away. So as the discussion began, and for me to even describe the way this guy presented himself is not going to do it justice. Slimeball, what was the word, Adam, that you used? Scumbag, I believe, would be a more scientific term.
Yeah,
right?
that's SCUMBAG. Yeah, they're all capital letters.
I thought they were. That's how I put it this morning. And again, I do not want to mispronounce that last name. Let's get it right for Georgie boy. Scumbag, right.
Scumbag, yeah.
So his presentation of the facts were that his ethics were incensed by Brian's presentation of flat earth bullshit. And he felt that it was violating some ethical code that was presented in the literal handbook, the guidelines for the committee, the board that presented Brian with his license to be an engineer. So in one sentence, he tells us that you can go to this website. I don't remember what it is. Click on Brian's information and find out right there with a simple few clicks if Brian has any kind of ethical complaints against him from people who've contracted him, or if there's any kind of maybe some kind of hearing being, any complaints or anything against him ethically. You can find that out right away, click, you're done, and move on with your day. But no. Georgie boy felt that it was necessary to call this board and put Brian's name in their head, put Brian's information about his YouTube and his flat earth beliefs all into their heads. These people who not only provided Brian's license, which gave him the ability to make a living, but could possibly be some of his employers right there on this board. Now, he kept saying, I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just trying to make sure that's ethically this and ethically that. So Nathan wanted to see this ethics documentation and what incensed this guy so much that he felt necessary to go and jeopardize this man's career. I wasn't doing that. I wasn't trying to do that. And it took 40 minutes just to get past that's not what I was doing. Obviously stirring shit, but I'm not doing that. That's not what I'm doing. I didn't call his employers. I just called this board and put his name in their head. So he couldn't find the document. He kept trying to go to his comment section of a YouTube video he has out about this situation to show us what it was that pissed him off so much, the ethic violation that Brian had done. Now, if it was something that pissed me off like this did or like the Petey Boys did, it's not going to be far from the front lobe here. It's going to be pretty much ready, front loaded, and ready to go. And while this may have been a little while back, the fact that he was willing to come into the panel and talk it up, I would think he would have that freaking information right at the top of his head. But no, 45 minutes of fumbling, and finally Bob from Globebusters sent the document we all needed to the chat. We popped it up. We're all looking at it. We finally had to send it to Georgie Boy. He finally got it on screen, but he wouldn't read it. He kept trying to go back to the YouTube comment section. And we all know Nathan's not going to have what Nathan's not going to have. Turn that channel off, get back to the document, show us what it is that you felt call was necessary to make this call. He couldn't. It was this and that and maybe this and maybe that, and just fumbling through this inept, can't even, so much slime oozing out of his mouth that he can't even talk. Dead silence. It's you have to go watch this performance of this gentleman's just scuzzballiness.
Can we put a link in the description for that?
We certainly will.
I think it's 374. Is that right? That's what's sticking in my head. I don't.
Show number, you mean?
Yeah.
And I made the apologies yesterday, and I'll make them here as well. I normally do my best not to cuss here, not to cuss on our TFR show, and I certainly wouldn't go on someone else's show as a guest and cuss. And this man made me drop a few F-bombs because, I mean, the whole panel was just about ready to go through a microphone and take this guy out. It was ridiculous.
Good.
And his attitude and the smarminess and the superiority sound in his freaking voice. Oh, okay, I'm going to chill before I get too much going here.
Good for you. Well, every now and again you need a swear word. And I put these sort of people in a class of their own. The last person I put in this class was Einstein. And he's in the class called Shitbag. He is a human shitbag. So if anyone researches Einstein and the word shitbag on any search engine, they'll get to my WordPress. Sorry.
You can just spell
And
that.
what is that WordPress again, John?
Just put in Einstein and shitbag in any search engine. The top rate is will be my WordPress. But yeah, the levels that these people will stoop to jeopardize a qualified,
But no,
experienced
John,
engineer,
he was just trying to protect the ethics of his profession,
of which he couldn't name his
that he couldn't even
ethics.
come up with. Right.
So quite clearly, in my categorization, a shitbag.
Not a good link, but just coming back to the colour of the gas, I just
Collected in your urine bottle.
in my sample bottle.
There you go. That's quite a good link.
That'll do. Just give me a second. I'll just come up with the YouTube, transfer it. So the first thing you get, like I said, I haven't bothered to memorize this shit in a long time, but The first thing you get, look, is hydrogen gas burns with a small orange flame, which goes around the tip of the glass. It's not like that of butane or methane, and you can see that here. There's a propane hydrocarbon flame, and there's your standard straightforward hydrogen. Wouldn't say that was too dissimilar. There was comment in terms of bluey purple coloration. This is from Nature magazine, just the abstract. A correspondent to your last number has troubled himself to propound an elaborate theory to account the blue tinge which he states is exhibited by the flame of hydrogen. There are also several textbooks on chemistry which assert that hydrogen burns with a characteristic blue flame. It's easy to prove that the flame of pure hydrogen has no blue tinge whatsoever. The blueness so frequently associated with the flame of hydrogen is really due to the presence of sulfur, as is shown in little paper 1 published in Philosophical magazine for November 1865. It is possible for facts mentioned in the paper to be turned into practical blah, 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 blah. But hopefully that kind of...
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to Hairy Growler's experiment to show us otherwise. Because it's easy to type words. It's not quite as easy to scavenge around your shed and actually perform something that comes close to a test.
Yeah, he was trying to hurry us up too. Didn't want to wait. Told him to either go live stream his own test or wait for ours.
Generation now.
You want to guess which one he chose?
Don't really care.
Did he miss the pop?
No, he didn't miss the pop. He waited.
Oh.
He hung out. He waited for hours. He did not go live stream his own.
I hate it when people go before a pot.
You have a habit of popping before.
But it won't stop popping even if nobody's there.
I think even tonight I've not been accused of a premature pop.
Not tonight, no.
It was a slightly delayed pop.
If you prop prematurely, does anyone hear it?
Gosh, in the woods.
Right, so Adam, did you have anything else? I think there might have been a few more other bits of business, didn't we have, to cover before we hit the break?
And I'm trying to send you a little something, Josh, appropriate before we go to break to lead into gravity, so don't go yet.
Well, I have the Telegram open if you want to send it over there.
There was just one shout out I wanted to give Josh, and that was to Roxanne Glenn FE, which is a fellow YouTuber. Last week, when Renee phoned in,
he was asking great, wasn't he?
Yeah, cool, man. And he kind of put me on the spot with the question, and I blurbed out an answer with regards to, UK. And I did in that mention stuff that I've been made aware of. People were starting to do stuff at, is it in Hyde Park, John? The Debaters Corner. Finsbury.
Finsbury, is it? No, not Finsbury. Oh, God, I can't remember.
It's Hyde Park, isn't it?
Any park in London, I think.
Terrible link. Yeah, go and shout in any park in London. It's fine. But I mean, just big shout out to her. She's doing amazing stuff, leading what appears to be a hell of a lot of people going down there. Last Sunday, I think there was allegedly Dave was there as part of the debaters, and also a guy I met at the Flat Earth Convention in Birmingham, the South African gent, Dave, Trinity for All man.
Mm-hmm.
So he was there fielding questions and debate there as well on behalf of Flat Earth. So shout out to all of them. And I think as far as I know, they're down again this week, and it was a pretty patchy Sunday for me. But as I remember, I think Roxanne said they were going to be there for all of August, all the Sundays in August, and then periodically after that. So yeah, respect to them and shout out.
Can we get a link to them in the description?
I'll find it in a minute.
Cool.
And I'll stick it in the chat.
And just before we go to break, Josh, can you stick an ender on this VHF broadcast from Ireland to Newfoundland? And just do me a favour and read the Wikipedia entry for line of sight propagation, the first 3 paragraphs.
I surely can. You'll just have to get perfect.
Can you see my screen?
I can.
Cool.
You might just have to scroll back up to the top so I can hit it from the beginning.
Okay, no worries. That should be at the top there.
Yep. Line of sight. Sorry, level up a little bit. There we go. Line of sight propagation is a characteristic of electromagnetic radiation, or acoustic wave propagation, which means waves travel in a direct path from the source to the receiver. Electromagnetic transmission includes light emissions traveling in a straight line. The rays or waves may be diffracted, refracted, reflected, or absorbed by the atmosphere, and obstructions with material and generally cannot travel over the horizon or behind obstacles. Next paragraph. In contrast to the line of sight propagation at low frequency, below approximately 3 megahertz, due to diffraction, radio waves can travel as ground waves, which follow the contour of the Earth. This enables AM radio stations to transmit beyond the horizon. Additionally, frequencies in shortwave bands between approximately 1 and 30 megahertz can be reflected back to Earth by the ionosphere, called skywave or skip propagation, thus giving radio transmissions in this range a potentially global reach. However, at frequencies above 30 megahertz, the VHF and higher, and in lower levels of the atmosphere, neither of these effects are significant. Thus, any obstruction between transmitting antenna, the transmitter, and the receiving antenna, the receiver, will block the signal, just like the light that the eye may sense. Therefore, since the ability to visually see a transmitting antenna, disregarding the limitations of the eye's resolution, roughly corresponds to the ability to receive a radio signal from it, the propagation characteristic at these frequencies is called line of sight. The farthest possible point of propagation is referred to as the radio horizon.
Now, obviously, thanks for that. There's obviously more to this, as there's more to everything to do with radio waves and everything along those. And I mean, we use rocket scientist as a sort of comparison. This stuff just, blows rocket scientists out of the water as far as I'm concerned. But essentially, what I read from that is that VHF above 30 megahertz, which this was, I mean, it was impressive because it was 88 megahertz, so it's well into the VHF range. It really should be line of sight. And I wrote back to the ham radio amateur radio enthusiast here, and I got a response sort of saying that it would have been this sporadic e-signals, this, what is it, multi-hop sporadic e-signals. So I don't know what any of that means, but it seems to be gibberish to me. As far as I can see, over 2,000 miles and 400 miles of drop. This should never have been possible, but it was. So, yeah. On that note, feel free to gravitize.
I was just glad, John. It's mad, isn't it? It's that final figure you give at the end there, mate. How much drop?
Well, 400 miles. I mean, where is it? The curve calculator says 2,105,362 feet, which I'm pretty sure if you divide that by calculator, yeah. Oops. No, don't want colour now. Get off. Can I paste in here? No. Anyway, let me go back. Bung up a Google.
It's not feet we're talking, was the only point. Didn't need a calculator for me. It's 400 mile.
Feet in miles. There we go, 398 miles of
You
drop.
exaggerated then.
Sorry?
You exaggerated.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, 1.4. Sorry, I'm exaggerating again. You take your decimal places and go elsewhere, Meekin.
Sorry.
I've been a million times not to exaggerate, John.
No need. Your point
that-
was made anyway.
On that point, yeah, I will stop sharing screens before I do something silly. All yours, Josh, I think. Ooh, there's a woman on the screen.
There is a woman on the screen.
Awesome.
Are you in charge of music, or would you like me to?
Well, if you have Gravity pulled up,
I've got a
I'm just
little
gonna-
bit.
if you
little
put
bit of gravity.
videos. Oh, Walter, you're killing me.
Oh, I'm just throwing different things. You know, the first one was just the best one. I'm just throwing all the liquasic ones I could find at you. And
So
then since
you just
John
want-
was doing his little section, I thought we could end it with a little John stab.
Gotcha.
I'm gravitying up.
All right, then. Well, I'm just going to play these. Walt made them. I've just pulled the first 3 he sent, so they're liquasic, so I think it'll be worth watching because
Oh, wait there then.
Hold on, Walt, you made these? What's that about?
nobody understands how technically talented we are when it comes to videography. So yeah, I mean, people don't give Walt enough credit for the work that he really does. I'll put it that way. No doubt about it.
Well, I'm going to have to watch this now, aren't I? Is it to the tune of Gravity?
No.
Oh.
Luckily for you.
Not at all. I just thought since we were discussing H2 naught, H2 naught.
Now, see, look how awesome that is. The hardest part, from what I remember when he did these, was actually finding a girl that would swim up to him in a pool and look at him that way.
You're
Most of it-
exactly correct. That was the tough part.
Which is really saying something, considering we had to drain an entire swimming pool just to be able to paint our logos on the bottom.
That
And then
that
fill
and three arrests.
Shh, don't get my record out there.
Love it.
One registry. All right, I think that's it. I think you're ready for some gravity. I know I'm ready for some coffee.
Right, gents, mute your mics. I shall stick some gravity on.
Awesome. We will see you all right back here in the next, 3.5, maybe 4 minutes, give or take.